Do you love sci-fi adventures on Mars? Do you want to know what happened to John Carter and Dejah Thoris after the first movie? Then you don't want to miss everything we know about John Carter 2, the sequel that never was. Find out the plot, the characters, and the reason why it was cancelled. John Carter 2 is the name of a movie that was planned but never made. It would have been a sequel to John Carter, a 2012 film based on a series of novels by Edgar Rice Burroughs. John Carter is about a man who travels from Earth to Mars and becomes involved in a war between different alien races. He also falls in love with a princess named Dejah Thoris. The first film centered on a Civil War veteran named John Carter who mysteriously finds himself on Mars. As he explores the planet's desolate surface, he encounters strange, fantastical creatures and discovers that he possesses the ability to defy Mars' gravity and make giant leaps in the air. This newfound ability proves useful when Carter, played by Taylor Kitsch, gets embroiled in a brewing war on the planet and fights evil to become a hero. The director of John Carter, Andrew Stanton, had a vision for a trilogy of films that would follow the adventures of John Carter on Mars. He had already written the scripts for the second and third films, which were titled Gods of Mars and Warlord of Mars, respectively. These titles were also taken from the novels of Burroughs. The story of John Carter 2 would have begun with Dejah Thoris narrating the events of the first film to her son, Carthoris, who she believes will never meet his father. She is then kidnapped by a villain named Matai Shang, who is the leader of a secret cult called the Therns. The Therns are the ones who brought John Carter to Mars in the first place, and they have a plan to destroy the planet. John Carter, meanwhile, has returned to Mars after finding a way to escape from Earth. He learns that Dejah Thoris is missing and sets out to rescue her. Along the way, he meets new allies and enemies such as Thuvia, a princess of another race, Tars Tarkas, a green-skinned warrior who is a friend from the first film, and Thurid, a Thern who betrays Matai Shang. Despite the rich mythology-fueled interstellar world created in the first movie and the abundance of source material from the original Edgar Rice novels for at least 2 more sequels, John Carter 2 never materialized. The movie also ended with an intriguing cliffhanger that set the stage for another Mars adventure. However, due to a series of marketing decisions and unfortunate affairs that followed the film's release, the sequels never saw the light of day. John Carter 2 would have explored more of the history and culture of Mars, as well as the mysteries of the Therns and their technology. It would have also featured more action scenes and special effects, such as flying ships, giant monsters, and ancient temples. According to Andrew Stanton, John Carter 2 would have been titled Gods of Mars. The movie's story would have begun with Lynn Collins' character Dejah reciting the events of the first film to their child, Carthoris, who she believes will never know his father, John Carter. However, the child is kidnapped by Matai Shang, played by Mark Strong, in one of his shape-shifting forms. The movie would then continue from where the first film ended with John Carter's return to the planet of Barsoom. The reason why John Carter 2 was never made is because the first film was a failure at the box office. It cost about $250 million to make, but it only earned about $284 million worldwide. Many critics and audiences did not like the film, and some blamed its poor marketing, confusing title, and lack of star power. Disney, the studio that produced the film, lost a lot of money and decided to cancel the sequels. In 2014, Disney gave up the rights to the John Carter novels, and they were reclaimed by Edgar Rice Burroughs Inc., the company that owns the author's works. They said that they wanted to find another studio that would make better adaptations of the books. However, as of 2023, no new John Carter films had been announced. John Carter 2 is a movie that exists only in the imagination of its fans and its creators. It is a story that could have been, but never was. It is a lost opportunity for a sci-fi adventure that could have taken us to a new world. John Carter 2 was a planned sequel that never came to fruition due to a combination of poor box office performance, negative reviews, and loss of rights to the source material. Despite the unrealized potential of the franchise, the story of John Carter's adventures on Mars remains a fascinating part of sci-fi cinema history. When talking about John Carter 1, it is a movie that tells the story of a man who goes to Mars and has many adventures. John Carter was a soldier who fought in the American Civil War. He is looking for gold in Arizona, but some soldiers and Indians chase him. He hides in a cave where he finds a strange device, he touches it, and suddenly he's on another planet. He does not know where he is, but he can jump very high and far. He meets some aliens who are green and have 4 arms, and they are called Tharks. They capture him and take them to their leader, Tars Tarkas. Tars Tarkas is impressed by John Carter's ability and gives him a name, Dotar Sojet. He also gives him a pet, a big dog-like creature called Woola. Meanwhile, there is a war on the planet between two human-like races, the red-skinned Heliumites and the Zidangans. The Zidangans are led by Sab Than, who has a powerful weapon given to him by a mysterious group called the Therns. The Therns can travel between worlds and manipulate events. They want to destroy the planet, which is called Barsoon by its inhabitants. The Heliumites are losing the war, and their king, Tardos Mors, wants his daughter, Deja Thoris, to marry Sab Than and end the conflict. Deja Thoris is a princess and a scientist. She does not want to marry Sab Than because she knows he is evil. She escapes from her city in a flying ship, but the Zidangans attack her. John Carter sees the ship falling and rescues Deja Thoris. He brings her to the Tharks, who are curious about her. Deja Thoris tells John Carter that he is on Mars and that the device he found is a medallion that can transport him back to Earth. She also tells him that the Therns are the enemies of Barsoom and that he can help her save the planet. John Carter is not interested in the war, he only wants to go back to Earth. He tries to find the medallion, but a Thern named Matai Shang takes it. Matai Shang tells John Carter that he is part of a game that the Therns play with different worlds. He says that John Carter can never go back to Earth and that he should forget about Deja Thoris. John Carter does not believe Matai Shang. He decides to help Deja Thoris and the Heliumites. He becomes friends with Tars Tarkas and learns that he has a daughter, Sola, who is kind and gentle. He also meets another Heliumite, Kantos Khan, who is a loyal soldier. He teaches the Tharks how to fly the ships and fight the Zidangans. He leads the Tharks and the Heliumites to attack the Zidangans. He fights with Sab Than and kills him. He also confronts Matai Shang and takes the medallion from him. He marries Deja Thoris and becomes the Prince of Helium. He is happy and wants to stay in Barsoom. However, Matai Shang has a trick. He makes John Carter think that Deja Thoris is in danger. John Carter uses the medallion to go to her, but he realizes that is a trap. He's back on Earth in the cave. He cannot go back to Barsoom because the medallion is broken. Sad and lonely. He leaves him a diary where he writes everything that has happened to him. He also leaves him a clue, a code that can activate another medallion. Edgar Rice Burroughs goes to see his uncle, but he finds out that he is dead. He reads the diary and learns the code. He goes to the tomb where he finds John Carter's body. He also finds the medallion and a note. The note says that John Carter is not dead, but in a state of hibernation. He says that he is waiting for Edgar Rice Burroughs to say the code and send him back to Barsoom. Edgar Rice Burroughs says the code and the medallion glows. He hears a gunshot and sees a hole in the tomb. He realizes that John Carter has returned to Barsoom and that he is alive. He is happy for him and hopes that he will find Deja Thoris again. You thought John Carter's story was over, but you were wrong. There is a sequel that never made it to the big screen, and it is full of surprises, twists, and dangers. What is the plot of John Carter 2? Comment your thoughts on this, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.